We have an interesting group of people here tonight, and we have wonderful awardees. We also have very unique keynote speakers. Usually every year they try and find someone famous. Well, this year we found two of the most famous women in Shilo. I was just in Shilo over Pesach, and it's really a remarkable place. If you haven't been there, you should. And if you want to know why to go, you should just go to meet the Prowisor family. And Marc Prowisor. Nobody knows what Marc Prowisor does for a living except me. Marc is the head of security for One Israel Fund. Those of you who know him, those of you who've heard him speak, know that he single-handedly does more to save Jewish life than anybody I know. And he does it on the ground, and he does it with cameras and equipment and first aid kits, and he does it really just because he's a good Jew. Doesn't do it for the fanfare or for the occasional appearance at a dinner. So Marc's wife and one of his children, his daughter, are going to be the keynote speakers. I'm going to tell you about them in a moment, but first, so that I can not hear about this for the rest of my life, his youngest daughter, Noah, she's here tonight, and she's really a cutie, and I promised I would mention her name. So welcome, Noah. Suri Prowesser and Marc Prowisor met while Marc was a soldier recovering from an injury during the First Lebanese War in Nachalot. Suri was herself a soldier who served in the Nachal unit in the IDF from 78 to 81. She now knows more about the Mishkan and the temple than anyone else who lives in Shomron or in Shilo, and people who come there listen to her and they learn what they're supposed to know. Throughout the years, she has actively lived the life of a proud Jewish woman, and her daughter, Mayana Prowesser, who will, according to Marc and his mother, probably end up either being commander-in-chief of the IDF one day, or then the next female prime minister of Israel, identifies herself as a settler because that's what she is. She settles the land of Israel. I'd like to introduce Mayana Prowesser and Suri Prowisor for keynote addresses.
Hi, I'm Mayana. I am Marc's daughter, Marc and Suri's daughter. I am 18 years old, and I live in Shilo. I look back at my childhood as a time full of fun and freedom, always being surrounded by friends, doing all kinds of activities together. Though I can't ignore the fact of growing up to be the daughter of the head of security. It was a major factor in my life. I was always informed by the top news and was always required to know everything going around between us. During the Intifada, I was in first grade. I don't remember many details, but I do remember a lot of pressure and a father running out of the house in a rush from attack to attack. But it wasn't always clear what was going on, especially to a little girl. But I understood it was a war I lived through. One of my teachers was killed during that time, and we lost friends in Shilo due to the attacks. Living through this period in my life made me understand the importance of being raised strong, with no fear. Yes, it's not normal having your neighbors and friends shot at and killed, hearing about attacks happening on the road beneath your house. But this is one of the reasons why we all grew up to be strong kids, tough, and not scared. We all understood from a young age that this is our country. It's not simple to live in, and we saw with our own eyes how fast we can lose it if we don't fight for it. We love Israel. We see and know how important it is for our nation. There's a price we have to pay, and the question is if you will take part of it. I continued on to Ulpana High School in the nearby Yishuv Ofra. After high school, as religious girls, we have the choice either going into national service, Shirut Leumi, or serving in the IDF. It was always clear to me that I will join the army. For me, putting on this uniform is taking part of what is keeping us together as a people. I, like many other kids in Israel, decided to put off the army for a year to join a pre-army program called Mechina, We do this program to enrich and strengthen our knowledge in Judaism and build ourselves to connect to our land and to our people. The specific program I am in is in Kibbutz Elumim, located along the Gaza border. We go by the message of Torah, Avodah, V'Gmilut Chasadim. We study half a week Jewish subjects like Torah, Gemara, and history. We discuss issues in the country and disagreements between us. The other half of the week, we work in agriculture. I work in the avocado field. What drew me most to this place is the idea of working in the land of Israel. Just like the old days, connecting to the land by actually working in it and not just speaking about it. I love waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, heading off to the spread out fields, prepared for a day of work. This I see to be very important, building a connection by simple love to the land and to the earth of Israel. Since the kibbutz is bordered by Gaza, it means that we also get hit by a lot of rockets and mortars fired at us. Before I start, I want to make it clear that for me, coming to the kibbutz, knowing where it is located, was no idealistic or heroic move. It is simply part of our land. Like I mentioned before, I chose this place for other reasons, but the whole package came together. The first day there, the head of security came to explain to us the procedures of the place. When we hear the Tzeva Adom alarm, we have 15 seconds to run to the shelter nearby. Just like life was normal for me in Shilo, life is normal for the kids in the kibbutz. A sentence we say a lot is, Kol echad ve'aravim shelo. Each place and their own Arabs, each place with their own problems, and so we cope with them. I was there during the Operation Amud Anan that the IDF did in Gaza. The moment the operation was declared, my friends and I were ordered to leave for our own safety because of all the rockets that were falling around the kibbutz. After being away for Shabbat, something felt wrong. It felt like we abandoned the kibbutz when it got a little bit scary. With not much hesitation, my friends and I called to say that we're coming back. Unfortunately to my parents, that Saturday night I was heading off down south. Blame it on them. I was simply raised this way, not to let our enemies scare us away. This is not something I look at as an heroic move. I am proud we came back. It was simple and obvious to us. Letting the Arabs kick us out of our land is simply letting them win. Those weeks built me up, toughened me up, made us strong. We volunteered the first week with the kids and seniors, showing them that we're all in it together. The head of security asked my Abba if he could come to the kibbutz also, just like he does to the rest of the yeshuvim, to give equipment. I remember my Abba coming to the kibbutz, bringing the equipment to the head of security. I was very proud when he came. I know they really needed it. People in the kibbutz never ever stop working. So this past Yom HaShoah, I of course worked too. I am used on this day to watch movies, so I sink into the horrors that the Jews went through. And it was weird starting off this day no different than any other. I thought rocket days were over. So Yom HaShoah, during the night ceremony, it's an ironic story. They performed a song describing the freedom that will be in Israel. And then, suddenly, cutting off the words is the Tzeva Adom alarm, once again. This time, the kids were panicked, looking for shelter. In one moment, the whole ceremony looked different. It changed. 1 minute later, we all stood up together to sing Hatikva. Liot am chofshi be'artzenu. These are words we're still praying for. But the moment the siren went off, we shut our eyes. I'm picturing in my head the worst pictures of the Holocaust, imagining everything they went through. And then, when it was done, that's when it hit me. I opened my eyes, and in front of me, I realized here lies their dream, the land of Israel. This is the land that belongs to us, and I'm standing in it, working in it. We are their victory. We proved the world wrong. We are strong, and I felt it very clearly that moment. I want to thank you all, everything that you do for us. It means a lot for me, my family, my friends, and our land. Thank you.
Suri, you sure you want to talk? Sir.
Hi, that was my daughter Mayana. Isn't she great? I'm Suri, Marc's wife. I'm so happy to finally be here and finally meet all of you in person. I want to give you another view of what's going on in the Yishuvim and the life of families. When we were looking for a place to make a home and raise our family nearly 20 years ago, we weren't interested in making an ideological statement. We wanted a place that felt warm and comfortable with honest and good people, and a nice, healthy environment that our children and we could grow and be a part of. What impressed us most about Shilo were the older children who were just starting to enter adulthood. They were so rooted in Judaism and good values, yet so strong and confident and free in the world. This, in my eyes, is the success story of the Yishuvim of Judea and Samaria. It's a nursery for raising amazing people. During these years of fighting for the justification of the existence of these communities, we've managed to raise a generation, strong, beautiful people, deeply connected to their land and heritage, completely able and confident to put some good into the world. These kids have gone way beyond us. Their confidence is instinctive, and their sense of belonging to Israel and Judaism is very deeply rooted. They don't question their motives or their right to exist. These are the kids you'll find hiking and camping all over the country. Whenever there's a free moment, they know every spring and stream in the country. They are truly an Am Chovshi B'Artzenu, a free nation in our land. Life in Shilo has had its challenges. As you know, of course, Marc was in charge of regional security for 10 very long years. The Intifada years were no picnic. We lost a lot of friends, our roads were not safe, and quiet and serenity became a distant memory. Our life routine was unpredictable. Marc had every possible communication device on him at all times: phone, walkie-talkie, beeper. He was simultaneously in constant contact with the Army and regional security personnel and ready at all times to respond to the people of the community who may need him. This meant that at any given moment, Marc could just have to go. One of the big times was on Friday evenings. He would leave at bar mitzvahs, family get-togethers, and once even on Pesach because of the Park Hotel bombing. At any given moment, he could be called out and he would grab his vest, helmet, rifle, and run out the door, start up the car in seconds, and be out. This got Marc out of all sorts of family responsibilities like diaper changing and watching the kids. I could actually never expect him to be home for the evening with the kids because he was only home in between incidents, so he said. He could always be called out at any second. During the bad years, I would frequently wake up in the middle of the night and find myself alone. I couldn't get back to sleep unless I knew that Marc was okay, and I knew that he was usually involved in very serious situations, so I'd keep it brief. I'd dial Marc's number and ask, "You alive?" When he'd answer, I'd go back to sleep. When the kids were very little, the roads were bad, and we'd put them all in bulletproof vests when we were in the car that were actually supplied by One Israel Fund. The vests were made only in adult sizes and were huge on them. Whenever we'd pass an Arab village or a bad spot, we'd call out, "Turtle," and they'd all tuck their heads into their vests. It was a cute game. Such was reality. I'm reminded of Shabbat when Marc was away for One Israel Fund in LA. We usually write right after Shabbat to say Shavua Tov. So I wrote to him about my weekend, and it went something like this. This was shortly after the Fogel family murder, with the gruesome memories still very vivid. As soon as Shabbat came in, we got a beeper telling us that there was an infiltration into the Yishuv. Everyone was to go indoors and shut the lights and shut the shades. So we shut the lights, got out the cell phone. I went up to the knife stash and I got my gun, handed out weapons to all of my children, and we waited and planned what we'd do if the terrorists managed to get into our home. We decided that upstairs was best and that we'd set a rope at the window so we wouldn't get trapped. And then another beeper went off. It was just a foreign worker who was walking near the perimeter hunting for turtles, and that we should return to routine. So, how was your Shabbat? I guess this is how my life is a little different than yours. You can't get away from the fact that living in Israel's historic homeland is inspiring. We're treading on our history wherever we go. I work at Tel Shilo Archaeological Site. I work at reintroducing ancient and lost crafts back into Judaism. I teach women weaving skills that were used to make the fabrics in the temple and how to spin and dye wool, basket weaving. We're researching and gathering ancient dyes. I teach bat mitzvah girls and familiarize yeshiva boys and their teachers with the halachot of weaving. All this deepens our connection to the land and our history. I'm directly working with the dust of archaeology and making it come back to life. I'm quite fortunate. I've met quite a few of you in Shilo on Marc days, and coming out on your own, it was really nice seeing you there. I'd like to give you an inside look at where your support and efforts are going. Marc's phone is constantly ringing with calls from all the various Rav Shatzim and security chiefs and security personnel from all around the country who have heard of the work that One Israel Fund is doing. Our home is filled with grateful security personnel, medics, first responders, IDF officers, and various leaders from the Yishuvim coming from all over to discuss security issues, to pick up needed equipment, and to discuss ways to improve our lives and our land. I get to see them smile. Our house has literally become a security center for Judea and Samaria once again, but this time the involvement is focused on preventing terror and not just responding to it. So I'd like to thank all of you for all that you do, all of your caring, and I look forward to seeing more of you on our side. Thank you, and shalom.
It's not often that I am sort of speechless, but I've listened to keynote speakers for 50 years. I think you had probably two of the best keynote addresses in the history of Jewish organization. And Mayana, I have 11 grandsons. And I don't know if you could, I noticed the diamond stud in her side of her nose. So she is, I have 11 grandsons.